Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings. We do have yellow and amber warnings for rain issued across parts of Scotland. Got a big wall of rain continuing to push in from the east there over the course of today. Should expire later this evening, so hopefully those issues will reduce. Have a look at the UKV. After that, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. It's turning a lot colder over the course of this weekend. And not anything special really, but temperatures below average, so down to mid to high single digits in the day and touching on freezing overnight. And then more heavier rain pushing in to start next week. Could be a bit of snow as well this weekend over the higher ground. Again, nothing too unusual, but it's not something we've seen so far this sort of second half of autumn, so it could come as a little bit of a surprise to some, and of course other areas will be seeing frosts as well. Then we'll have a look at the EGFS, GEM, the Eastern WF and the ensembles, and continue to look at the huge volatility we do have. Once again, all the models showing vastly different scenarios beyond the day 7 time frame, with quite a few operational runs today going for something quite a lot colder, but again, we can't have a look at it with too much certainty, because yes, the GFS and the ECMWF go colder today, or at least go into a colder pattern, but they both do it in completely different ways. So it is one of these situations where we've got a lot of blocking to our north, we've got westerly momentum trying to shove it out of the way, and the models are trying to decipher what is going to happen. I still do believe we will see some colder weather into December, but it's just, again, time frame and how cold will it be, whether just below average, a little bit of winteriness over the hills, maybe it's at times lower levels, or something properly cold. We'll have to wait and see. But the models once again today, I've got huge spread on the ensemble members, huge differences on the operation runs, with some of them going really quite cold as we end November and start December. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on live radar, you can see that wall of rain pushing into parts of Scotland at the moment. It's across eastern Scotland here, over the higher ground into Aberdeenshire, where we do have that amber warning. You can see a little bit of snow over the highest ground of Scotland, but again, nothing substantial really, but again, this wall of rain just getting pushed in with a lot of moisture coming in off the North Sea, and again, this is a real heavy rain event, but it's all being caused by the Scandinavian high. Generally, this low that moved in from the southwest would have pushed down to the North Sea, up towards Scandinavia, out to our east, but instead, the Scandinavian high is sitting here, comes up against it, getting pushed back and heading back into Scotland, sort of stalling before it is slowly petering out this evening into tomorrow. So again, even though it's not putting in cold weather, this is one of the ways that the Scandinavian high is impacting us, sort of blocking the Atlantic systems from moving through and giving us big rainfall events. Now you can see where the extent of the cold air from the Scandinavian high does come. Easterly winds you can see across parts of Germany and Poland, down to Eastern Europe. You see snow is falling here widely around freezing, and that's where that real cold air is at the moment. Again, not making its way towards northwestern Europe, but yeah, wrapping around that higher pressure, producing quite a lot of colder weather there. Now, I'm recording this around sort of 11:15, and if we put on the temperatures, you'll be able to see that today those temperatures are not too great, but you can see there are some yellows building in. Again, a little bit slow to load there, but yeah, some yellows building in, so temperatures getting into the low teens there, but it will be turning colder this weekend. Colder air masses pushing in from the west. It's one of those sort of colder, milder sectors sort of oscillating, and yeah, colder sector will be dominating a lot of this weekend, but you can see generally around average, really, not too great. And you can see the colder air across Eastern Europe, there, Poland and Germany, these lighter blues indicating temperatures getting close towards freezing. Again, you can see it further out towards Russia, big pool of cold air flooding southwards and westwards. Again, that could have headed towards the UK, but the Atlantic is holding it off. Again, this sort of cold air to our east is what we need to keep an eye on over the course of the next few weeks, because if we did get an easterly wind in, you'll see the near continent is cooling down significantly with this air mass, and it could start to send us a lot colder. But once again, just something to keep an eye on. So if we do now go over to the weather warnings and see what's happening over for this rain, you can see we've got this widespread yellow warning still, again from 3 p.m. yesterday until midnight tonight. Despite a persistent and at times heavy rainfall will continue on Friday, leading to a risk of flooding. Again, further details, it was updated. The end of the warning zone has been extended until the end of Friday, with rainfall slower to ease than expected. So yeah, interesting in that. And the northern extent has been increased. 100 millimeters is possible. And then we've got the amber warning here, where 100 millimeters, maybe as high as 150 millimeters, and this amber warning should expire at 9 p.m. So over the course of this evening. So by the time you've been in this video, we've still got a good few hours left of this rainfall warning. Again, could be quite dangerous under it. So if you are in this area, please do take the necessary precautions. Could be some flooding, and of course rivers are going to swell, so some areas that are not seeing the direct heavy rain could see some issues over the course of the next few days, the next few weeks, generally from the very high river levels. Any other big showers or other spells of rain on top of this could cause some flooding. If you go back to the live radar for a second and just put on the layers and go have a look at the past 24-hour precipitation, and we'll be able to see how much rain has actually fallen. You can see that oranges and reds all the way down the east coast of Scotland. Sort of 60, 70, 80 millimetres of rain. Some areas probably seeing in excess of 100 millimetres of rain so far just in the past 24 hours. So more to the previous 24 hours, and there'll be more falling over the course of the next 12 hours. So yeah, a huge amount of rainfall there, and again, swelling the rivers, and yeah, could be some dangerous conditions around. Now, if you go over to the UKV and have a look at what the precipitation and the temperature is doing over the next 5 days, and you can see that rain pushing into the far east at the moment, continuing to push in, turning very heavy at times, for eventually slowly petering out later this evening. Again, look clear skies around this evening, so temperatures could drop quite low for some, especially in the south and the west, before a weather front pushes through on Saturday. And it is pushing into cold air. We could see a bit of snow over the high ground of Scotland, maybe northern England as well. So yeah, could see our first sort of decent snowfall event for moderate to upper level hills and mountains. Through Sunday, that precipitation should edge away, and then we go into sunshine and showers for Sunday afternoon. Again, could be some winteriness over the higher ground. You couldn't rule out a few sleet flakes or areas of sleet, growlpool or hail coming to low-lying areas or moderate hills for a time in some heavier showers, but again, we're not expecting anything significant at all. Through that Sunday into Monday, another big line of heavy rain pushes through for Monday afternoon. So yeah, Monday looks quite a miserable day, especially in the south and the west through the morning, and for the later afternoon in the east and the north. Beyond that, more showers push through on Tuesday, and again another very unsettled, another unsettled day, and then another weather front pushing in from the southwest. So it continues to stay pretty miserable over the course of the next 5 days, and pretty chilly as well. If we put on those 2-metre temperatures, you can see that today the temperatures will peak around that sort of 9 to 11 degree mark, so not particularly mild at all. Beyond that, you can see as we head through Friday evening into Saturday, it could be cold in the south and the west with a bit of frost developing potentially, and through Saturday afternoon we can see really quite chilly, around 8 to 10 degrees colder further northwards and westwards. Into Sunday, overnight temperatures do drop down to the mid to low single digits for some, and into Sunday afternoon you see those temperatures rising to max around 6 to 8 degrees colder in other areas. Through Sunday evening into Monday, widespread frost in the north and the east, again all dependent on clearer skies and how progressive weather fronts are, so that can change the widespread nature of this frost, but the potential is there. And as we head into Monday afternoon, widely again, 6 to 8 degrees, maybe the 9 or 10 degrees being reached in the far south, and into Tuesday, cold overnight, mid to low single digits, and Tuesday afternoon peaking around that 6 to 8 degree mark. So yeah, looking really quite chilly over the next sort of 5 days or so. Nothing exceptional, really, but just below average and not something we've seen so far this November. So yeah, it could come as a little bit of a shock to the system. Now, if we do go over to the GFS now and have a look at the longer range, you can see that we've got that low pressure over the top of it at the moment stalling because of that Scandinavian high and eventually petering out. We do see more westerly winds pushing in up against that colder easterly winds, and that's where we could see a bit of colder weather throughout the next few days, because eventually a little bit of those easterly flows gets in, a little bit of that air gets in, but nothing substantial at all, and we remain fairly westerly. Beyond that, around day 7, we actually go quite mild and westerly, with the winds veering more from a southwesterly, but As we get toward day 10, higher pressure just right a ridge further northwards, and just look what happens. Eventually, we do get a bit of a northeasterly wind. Initially, though, look at the upper air temperatures. Nothing particularly special, really. You can see down sort of freezing age with THPA, nothing particularly cold. But watch what happens in the longer term. High pressure migrates further westwards, and we start to pull in a northerly wind. Look at that real cold air plunging out of the Arctic. High pressure building on Scandinavia, and look at that really bitterly cold northerly wind. Again, we've been expecting a bit more of an easterly or northeasterly because Scandinavian high have been appearing within the model output more. But today we're seeing a northerly from the GFS, a bitterly cold northerly. Again, look at the temperature deviation, really cold, well below average, 6 to 8 degrees below average, and the potential equivalent temperature showing how cold that area is pushing in. So again, GFS keeps swapping and changing. A lot of volatility around this. Would be a big block, mid-Atlantic ridge moving up towards Greenland, and we will be plunging into a very cold northerly flow. We'll have to see what happens with this blocking, but for the time being, GFS is showing something colder in the longer term, but for the medium range, it goes a bit more westerly. For around day 10, high pressure tries to build in, and then eventually, given a few days, develops into something that could bring colder weather in. Again, we'll have to compare it to the other models. Now, if we do go over to the GEM, see how that does compare over the next 10 days. Again, low pressure running in at the moment. Easterly winds trying to come up against it, but westerly flow winds out. And all the way to day 10, look at that, more of a westerly flow. Maybe height signs of some ridging in the Atlantic, but again, nothing particularly cold. We've got high pressure up towards Siberia, but it's not particularly penetrating the northern hemisphere or the North Pole, too much. And this is just a generally more Atlantic-driven westerly flow. It would be oscillating between colder and milder sectors. So yeah, nothing particularly cold at all. Very interesting from the GM. Yes, there is very cold air spreading into Eastern Europe here from this high pressure system, but if that was going to produce anything cold for the UK or Northwest Europe, you need that shoved way more towards Scandinavia and Svalbard to be getting that air in up against a strong westerly momentum. So yeah, GM going milder today. If we go to the ECMWF, see how that does compare. Again, low pressure running in off the Atlantic at the moment, continue to produce westerly flow beyond that, and right toward day 10, look what happens. Higher pressure building up towards Scandinavia, and that would try to turn us a lot colder. Again, not producing anything substantially cold at day 10, but again, it's one of those patterns where if you push it on another few days, we would start to bring in really quite cold easterly winds. So again, all three runs bring vastly different patterns beyond day 7. GFS going quite westerly, they're building a huge mid-Atlantic ridge up towards Greenland from day 10 to day 14. The GEM just going more westerly at day 10, and the Eastern BF at day 10 building up a Scandinavian high. Again, this just is highlighting the model volatility. If anyone says they know exactly what's going to happen, then they're not looking at the models, because they are chopping and changing significantly. Some runs are going cold, some are going milder, some are going in between. Some are doing a little bit of both. So we've got to keep an eye on it at the time being. And as you can see on the ensemble members, the majority of the ensemble members are average. Just generally hovering around above or slightly below average within a degree or so, with quite a bit of precipitation. So we're not seeing any huge signal from the ensemble members all the way out to the end of the month so far. So again, there is signs of something colder, but nothing concrete at this stage. And once again, I think we just got to keep an eye on what's going on, and I'll continue to update you this over the next few days, the next few weeks in general. It is still a very interesting time. The atmosphere is primed for more volatile patterns over the course of the next few weeks, with blocking favoured. So we'll have to see what happens. So yeah, hopefully, we'll be having a look at this in more detail over the next few weeks. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.